The Sacred 2 Remaster is out now, and since the original game came out back in 2008, I think it's time for a beginner's guide to help you get started with the game and progress through without hitting any roadblocks. So we're going to go over a few tips and tricks, things that help me, begin the game and all sorts. And yeah, if you've enjoyed, please drop the video a like, help me tremendously. We'll have more Sacred 2 content, so let's jump right in. My first tip would be to plan your build out ahead of time. I haven't discovered a way to respec the abilities you earn when you level up. So if you're looking to make a dual wield build, for example like I am, as you can see here, then make sure you plan out which skills you're going to take so you can get these maxed out without wasting points on the stuff you don't care too much for. For example, you can see on this fresh run I'm currently level 3, so if I go to level up my attributes, when you level up you get to pick 2 of these, and each one will do different things. For example, as you can see with strength, for example, increases attack value as well as basic damage for all close range weapons except daggers and magic staffs. Whereas when it comes to dexterity, increases attack value slightly, so you get less attack back, for example +9 here, whereas we'd get +21 with this. But with dex, it also increases your defense value as well, so you sort of get a 2 for 1, as well as increases damage dealt by close combat and ranged weapons. But it's your skills that really matter, and as you can see, we get to pick learned skills. So when it comes to this, why I say to plan your build out early is, for example, dual wielding is actually an offensive skills 2 here, meaning I cannot select this straight away. I have to pick something else first. If I took sword weapons, for example, and put that in there, and then here, even if I come out and then come back in, I still cannot select dual wielding yet. So this is why I say it's really important to plan your build out, check all these nodes out and know which ones you want to take. You're only going to have enough points to reach a huge amount in only a few of them. And ideally, whichever one you want to hit that level 75, as you can see here. For example, with dual wielding, increase the chance for double hits. So as you'll see with my character here, I did start with sword weapons, and then eventually I was able to take dual wielding at this point. And now I'm fully focused on dual wielding. So in my personal opinion, here's how I've been doing my builds for this game. I've had one key skill that I've really focused on to keeping max level. In this case, it's dual wielding, as that's my playstyle. I then got 2 others that I'm focusing on as well, that being combat reflexes, because I want that evade chance and critical hit weapon chance, and toughness, more armor, more protection. And then the rest of these I'm sort of filling with points as and when I want to, just to help me, be more defensive, or in this case get a bigger armor boost or even bigger hit points. But I would personally recommend 1 key skill, 2 others that you want to try and hit to a good level, and then the rest you can sort of fill in based on what you want for your build, but I wouldn't pump too many points into them personally. My next tip for Sacred 2 Remaster is get a horse ASAP. This will make traversing so much quicker, especially since the portals, and as you can see here, this is what the portals look like in the game, are scattered around. We have one over here, one over here, we have one down here, and as you can see, so far nothing in this region. So, why is a horse so important? Well, because there are so many side quests, and I mean many side quests, all of this, that there's a lot of running between areas to find them, to complete them, and then to possibly even hand them in, you have to come back to where you got it. So, having a horse makes it easier to just keep traversing, you'll get around the map quicker, and it kind of just makes the quality of life of the game a little bit more easier and better in my opinion. But be warned, your horse can die. I found this out the hard way. Now, talking of portals, as you can see here, these are used for fast travelling. However, there are 2 different types of portals you will find in the world. If we come to our world map, we have these normal portals, the one I'm stood in front of and this one, which have the arch and the blue and white glow in the middle. These are active portals. There are also inactive portals in the world as you explore. Now, the difference with these is, these portals here, like in Slowford and in, how do you pronounce this, Thylacium, are active portals, meaning they activate when you go near them. With inactive portals, you actually have to click on the portal to activate it for the first time. Now, unactivated portals will look similar to these, however there's no blue and white glow in the middle. So if you have one of these on your map, you need to go back there, you need to click on it, and then it will open up a fast travel point. And then once you've got the fast travel point, you can travel to any of them at any point just like that. So try to avoid missing any of these portals because backtracking can be very annoying. But if you listen to these tips and tricks and have a horse, it makes your life a little bit easier. Now as you're travelling in the world, you will find these little like orbs or gems, however you want to call them, for each class. Now these affect your combat arts or combat skills, however you want to remember it to make your life easier. Now, while traversing you will find these for characters you can use. For example, I'm the Seraphim, I can use this one. But any that are red background are actually for a different class, so you can't use them. For example, this is for the Dragon Mage, this is for the Temple Guardian. Now, I can show you what to do with these in another video, because we can do a whole guide on how these work. But essentially, as I said, these improve your combat arts. So for example here, if I find my Warding Energy, so you'll see it has Warding Energy +1, Shield Regeneration plus 12.5%. So if I come to my combat arts and we will find our Warding Energy, you see it's currently at 0, I cannot select it. So if I come in here and I use my Warding Energy, just like that, and then we come back here, I now have unlocked it as an ability, and it means I can slot it into my skill points here, just like that. What else does this mean? Well, if you look at our battle stance here, you'll see it's currently got a 1 next to it. If I come to my inventory, you see we gain battle stance +1, so I can use this, come to my combat arts, and it's now a 2. So the more of these you find, the more you can increase your arts, therefore they'll do better abilities. And this is just a very simple way to really boost your build up early. So make sure you're using these, make sure you pick them up, make sure you use them. It took me a while to figure out what they fully did, and now it's made the game so much easier. Now you'll have a shared inventory in the game. If you come to one of these chests, you will see you have a player chest, and then you have shared belongings. So this is a nice way of spreading your inventory between different classes. So for example, as you can see in my shared belongings here, I have 4 items, and I'm currently on my Seraphim playthrough. Now I'm on my Dragon Mage playthrough. If I come to the chest here, you'll see the player chest is different, but shared belongings are here. So if you find an item in one of your builds, or sorry, one of your playthroughs, and you're like, that'd be perfect for my Dragon Mage, for my Druid, you can put it in the shared belongings, and then they can pick it up in the other one. It's a nice little tip and trick if you want to play through the game with multiple different characters. Okay, like any action RPG, loot is king, and there is a plethora of it in this game. However, just because loot is a higher level, doesn't mean it's better for you. For example, as you can see here, each piece of loot has a level, has like certain modifiers, and then you have like passives on top. For example, with the Battle Sword of Faerun, chance to inflict wounds 3.7%. Now each weapon will depend on, again, your weapon type, what you're using, and stuff like that. So for example, if we check out my armor, we'll check out my boots here. Level 19, 13 armor as a very baseline. If we come to the boots here, level 23, only 2 armor. So with the Ironclad heavy boots, you can see I gain a bunch of other stuff with this as well. +2 alchemy, run speed, regeneration penalty is a 2.7, which is a bit of a negative, but if we compare this to the rest, again, this might be level 23 boots, but there's no good bonuses. Level 23 boots, armor 3, regeneration penalty. So again here, armor 3 compared to armor 13, but you do get defense of +15. So overall, make sure you're checking your loot, but don't feel like just because something is a higher level, it's actually better for you. Again, when it comes to weapons, for example with the Hardened Blade, 50 to 61 damage, attack value +12, defense value +12, a really good weapon. However, on mine, 21.3% attack value, 21.6% chance of damage, 3.7% chance to inflict open wounds, and we decrease the opponent's defense value. So our baseline damage is possibly lower, only 42, but we have a higher cap and better abilities. So really make sure you keep an eye on your loot, and yeah, plan your build out. You might find a sword where your baseline is going to be, let's say, 42 to 60, so you have less of a cap, but you might have +5 dual wield on it. In my opinion, that'd be better than what I'm currently using, because I'm doing a dual wield build. So really play around with loot, check everything you pick up, but again, don't be afraid, just because it's a higher level, to just get rid of it and stick with your low level stuff. Now much like loot, there are multiple different types of enemies you can find in the game, and your damage against these enemies is all different. Within your character sheet, we'll call it for lack of, clarity, there is a character statistics tab here. If you click on this, you will see that there is a bunch of stats. So, as you can see on the right hand side, damage against wild animals plus 37.1%, but then damage against humanoids plus almost 60%. But then if we come down to damage against monsters, it's only 8.3%, damage against insect plus 4.7%. So this is really important because your damage on your weapons is fine, but you still have different damages against certain enemies. So this is something to really keep an eye on, as you might want to find ways to increase the damage against the type you're lacking. For example, I might need to find a way to increase my damage against monsters before I come up against them. On a defensive standpoint, it's really useful to know before you throw yourself into danger against a bunch of undead, knowing you've only got a plus 16.1% damage. Whereas if I was throwing myself against a bunch of humanoids with plus almost 60%, I can be a little bit more careless. So really keep an eye on this, play around with your loot, and just be prepared for what's coming, because you might not have anywhere near as much damage as you would hope. Now relics are a big thing you will come across in the world of Sacred 2 as well, and they are these little gems here. Now each relic is a different colour. There are ones for arcane, as you can see here. We have fire, we have poison, and if I come to my relic here, we have frost. So there are 4 different types, and each one will give an armor bonus, as you can see here, and that is protection against that damage type. So for example, you can see my armor on the right hand side is 501, 296 against, physical damage, 72 fire, 53 frost, 24 arcane, 56 poison. Now, these tabs are also switchable based on what you have, so bear that in mind. The other thing is, to impose these, you can only have 3 in each set, and you get 2 sets. And the different style of gem actually affects how good the armor bonus is. So you can see all this on the Sacred 2 wiki, but essentially there are, I think it's 5 different shapes of these. You've got the triangles, you've got, the ovals, you've got hexagons, all sorts. So really pay attention to these, make sure you mix these out when you need to, and just be wary. For example, if you take these out, you do see changes. So just bear this in mind when you're playing around with your armor bonuses. Now forging and blacksmithing is another thing we can cover here. For example, you'll find these merchants all around, and these will allow you to blacksmith some weapons. Now I've got my staff in the blacksmith slot, and you'll see I have an open slot here. So as you're travelling, there are a few things you can find that you can really just benefit from. So, for example, I have a chunk of lava. Converts damage to fire, 31.1%. If I take this, and I go and insert it in my blacksmith gem, you can see I can forge this for just about 10,000 gold. So if I do this, pop it here, and then take my sword back, or my staff back I should say, you'll now see my sword, or staff, is glowing with flame, meaning that the forging has worked. And there's a few of these you can find all about, such as chunks of lava. They seem to be the easiest, especially early game to find. So if you want to put some fire on your weapon, that's the way to do it. Now there are so many more tips and tricks I can give you for the start of this game. These are just a few that I wish I really knew when I first jumped into it to make life easier, but I don't want to make this video too overwhelming and long. So I really hope these tips and tricks do help you get going, and this beginner's guide just helps you guide your way through Sacred 2, especially if you're a new player like me, because the game can be very overwhelming with sort of the lack of knowledge it gives you in tutorials. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please drop the episode a like, helps me tremendously. Subscribe to the channel for more. I've got more guides to Baldur's Gate, Sacred 2, Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, Elden Ring, Dragon Age, Oblivion, basically all the amazing RPGs you could ever need. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.